The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Randy Orton are on a collision course for even more cartoon violence as WWE refuses to learn its lesson from 2017.
Hey, stay connected. Follow Pro Wrestling Bits.
Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton are two of the most talented performers in the modern era. Orton is a made man as a former 14-time world champion, while WWE has invested years of capital and creative development into the Bray Wyatt character, which has become a top star despite seeing its share of ups and downs. Some rivalries create instant magic, like Flair and Steamboat, Hogan and Savage, or Vince McMahon versus Common Sense. But Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton is not one of these rivalries. Not only do the two lack the chemistry needed to consistently create money-drawing matches, their matches and storylines are often the subject of ridicule and mockery throughout the wrestling community. Seriously, if Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton were a Rotten Tomato score, that tomato would give you salmonella. After showing promise initially, with Orton temporarily joining the Wyatt family and going on to win the 2017 Royal Rumble, this thing really started to get away from itself when Orton burned down Wyatt's house on the February 28th broadcast of SmackDown. The wheels fell all the way off, starting with their WWE Championship match at WrestleMania 33, one that was arguably the worst WWE title match in WrestleMania history. The match itself was voted worst of the year in 2017 among many polls. Jason Powell of Pro Wrestling Net called it an embarrassing match due to the special effects. The late Larry Zonka wrote, "The story here is that Orton survived and overcame Bray's mind games. Unfortunately, that story sucked." Wade Keller of PW Torch didn't even know what to say. Fans rated this match less than 1 out of 10 on CageMatch.net, shout out to them, and it received a generous 3.5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, whatever that means. Even Randy Orton hated this match, particularly the entrance where he lamented having to ride a giant sperm to the ring. Bray Wyatt went on to become the first WWE champion in history to defend the title at WrestleMania and not even compete on the main show the following year despite being healthy. And just when you thought this feud couldn't get any worse, Orton and Wyatt dug deep and managed to do just that with the infamous House of Horrors match at Payback 2017. This was the original cinematic match, and it really should have been buried in the boneyard with the rest of The Undertaker's in-ring career for now. ProWrestling.net vowed we'll all look back on this and laugh someday. I'm still waiting for that day. Kelly Harras of Voices of Wrestling called it a big fucking dud. The same website called it a wet-hot fart of a dud, while Vice called it a nightmare for all the wrong reasons. I don't know what the toast of WWE was in 2017, but this wasn't it. In fact, this was the opposite. This was the frozen keto bread of WWE in 2017. And 4 years later, here we are with the world's most unlikable feud back at it again with similar results. The December 14th broadcast of Raw was built around a Firefly Funhouse field trip where Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton engaged in a game of hide-and-go-seek that dominated the show. I'm not making this up. That show went on to become the lowest rated Raw in history. WWE has produced 1,055 broadcasts of Raw, and 1,054 of them did a better number than this show. What does that tell you? Keep these two apart. They're oil and water, peanut butter and mustard, Miz and Morrison. The only magic Orton and Wyatt create together is when they make viewers disappear. In fact, they went on to have a Firefly Funhouse Inferno match that ended up with the Fiend burning to a crisp, and that sucked too. This company's worst rivalry is now tripling down with reports of yet another gimmick match between Orton and Wyatt slotted for the Royal Rumble. And now they're dragging poor Alexa Bliss into this mess because if at first you don't succeed, just burn it all down and fail again.